You gotta have heart. All you really need is heart. Well, in one particular case, that's true. Stay with us and see what I'm talking about. Hi, welcome to Wordnet. I'm your host, Jack Knight. You gotta have heart. Well, heart is the heart of what we're going to be talking about today with Leah Andrews and Carrie Matthews from FFA, not Future Farmers of America, but Foster Family Agency in San Bernardino County and surrounding areas. Heart matters. Carrie is the executive director, and Leah is the worker. What is it? I guess it was social worker supervisor. Now, tell me, Carrie, as the executive director, what is the mission of FFA?
The mission of our foster family agency is to place as many children in foster homes as we can, to make them as comfortable as possible while they're in care away from their biological relatives, helping them to succeed and empowering them through their traumatic history while they're in care and possibly return to biological relatives.
I have done some homework, and I was shocked to find out that there are about 450,000 children in foster care in this country. And I must imagine in other countries, millions of kids in foster care.
That is
who
correct.
need help, direction, sustenance, love, caring, and all of that. How old is Heart Matters?
We are 2.5 years old.
Really?
Yes.
So sort of new?
We're
But
sort of
your
new.
experience goes further back than that.
I'm 18 years in the business.
How about you, Leah?
I'm about 6 years in the business.
6 years?
Yes.
Ah, you're just a kid.
Still a baby. That's okay.
You're located in Grand Terrace, California?
We're right in Grand Terrace, serving both San Bernardino County placements and Riverside County placements. We serve both counties.
When a child comes up for foster care, where do they come from when they come to you?
Well, they are coming from home environments that are not meeting their needs.
And basically, maybe a parent is an addict?
We get a lot of drug-related cases. Some of the children are homeless, but of course, all of them are being either abused or neglected in their current home environments.
Do they have to go through the court before they get to you?
They have to, actually, the county is the one that decides that they need to be detained. And if they're an initial placement, they will go to court 3 business days after they're placed in one of our homes.
And how many homes are there?
Well, right now, our agency has 56 homes, which is why we're trying to recruit more, because there's so many children that are needing placements.
What is the age range? That's the biggest group.
The biggest group, so Jack, we serve children and youth age 0 to 21, but right now the biggest need is for teenagers.
Oh yeah, I can see that. I used to be a teenager, and I know
Right.
teenagers need help.
Right, they
in various
do.
things.
They do.
Now, Leah, you're the supervisor of social workers.
Yes.
Are these assigned by the county, or they work for Heart Matters? Are they volunteers?
These are agency social workers that we hire in order to supervise and manage our homes. And they provide case management, they provide home visits, and they ensure the safety and security of the home. They're there as a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week resource for our children and our families. And they're there to ensure that while these children are placed with our agency, that they are taken care of, they're in a nurturing environment, and all of their needs are met while they're with us.
Is there any conflict ever between the court, the county, and the agency?
We actually all work as a team, so there's not much conflict. We all pretty much have the same mission. The county workers basically work with the biological relatives on their case plan, and we at our agency work with the children on their case plans.
I hear on the radio every once in a while about some children involved in a very traumatic situation, sometimes resulting in death or injury or emotional terrible stuff, and you hear, well, fell through the cracks. What kind of things happened that might that result in?
Well, Jack, I think a lot of those traumatic events occur with children that are placed in county homes. There is a difference. We're a foster family agency, and so we are more accountable for our children, and so we are mandated by law to actually visit those children once a week. We're very highly accountable to state regulations, so we see our children constantly.
That's good. What about screening? Now, if there are children that need foster care, you have to screen them to figure out how is the screening done psychologically? Who does that?
So when a child comes into care, the first thing that we do is we look for a compatible home for them based on their age, the needs that they have, and the skill set of the family that we're attempting to place them with. Once they're placed in that home, the county actually has a referral process where they set up a screening to evaluate them for any mental health needs that they may have with a psychiatrist, a psychologist, or what's called wraparound services, where they have a team of individuals who come into the home and take care of that child's behavioral health or emotional needs. And once they do that, it's our job as social workers to ensure that they're constantly evaluated. We go into the homes weekly and we continue to assess them. We work collaboratively with the counties to make sure that those children's needs are advocated for, and we even go into the school system and do the same.
Do you find sometimes that there's conflict because of race, ethnicity? It's hard to place a particular child, and so they are placed in a place that is not exactly, but it's the only thing available?
That can happen sometimes, which is why, once again, we're constantly recruiting bilingual families, recruiting families that may know sign language, recruiting families that want to take children that have specialized health care needs. So we recruit to try and meet the needs of every child that comes into placement so we don't have that issue.
What about kids who are in the program going to school? Do you have anything to say about where they are going to school, how their educational needs are being met, or are you just interested or mandated to make sure that they're safe and things like that?
So all of our children are, of course, enrolled in school. It is a mandatory requirement. But our social workers and our resource parents are heavily intertwined in their educational needs. So we make sure that our children have individualized education plans if needed. We make sure that if their needs are not being met in the school system, both our social workers and our resource parents advocate for it. If we need to change schools, if we need to arrange transportation to a school that's a better fit for them. Many times we find that children have moved around so much in foster care that they've missed a significant amount of time. So we help them with credit recovery. We make sure that they get that additional support for tutoring, those additional needs for any type of additional assistance in order to make sure that their education is just as adequate as the education of children who are not in foster care.
What about children who have physical impairments? A kid who needs to be in a wheelchair, somebody who has to wear a helmet because they have seizures and things, the medical kind of stuff. How do you match up that way?
Our agency is certified to take children with specialized healthcare needs. We have a full-time registered nurse on staff, and she is assigned to those children that have those specialized healthcare needs. She does intensive staff training and foster parent training for those children, and she always also works collaboratively with their physicians, primary physicians, and medical specialists.
How do you match or screen potential foster parents? What kind of screening process involved? Is it very thorough? Is it perfunctory? What?
So I can say for our agency, we are very, very cautious as to whom we have foster our children. We make sure that we ask adequate questions up front prior to them becoming applicants. And once they go through that initial screening with initial background information, they go through a thorough background check with the FBI, the Department of Justice, and the CACI, which is going to be the Child Abuse Criminal Index. We make sure that all of the people who are in the home are cleared individuals. We go through extensive training, which goes through trauma-informed care. We teach them about the services available for children. We teach them about mental health, how to cope with behavioral challenges, how to utilize their resources, and also self-care for our resource parents. We don't want them to just house children. We want them to actually be there to help those children get through that situation, because no one will know what that child's going through until they get into the home.
And what about the people who are going to be fostering the children? They have to have some special training, I'm sure, ahead of time. And who handles that?
So generally, our social workers are the ones who are trained to do that training. We have a very rigorous training, both online and in person, and we have ongoing training. So as we speak, actually, there's training going on back at our office, because our parents are consistently trained on changes, on updates, on different strategies to take care of themselves better and also our children. So our children are constantly being reinforced with more positive strategies. Our parents are being reminded of ways to cope with these and how to help our children better.
Sounds like that's quite a task to do all of those things. And I'm sure you're being very successful with it. We're going to take a break in a moment, but when we come back, I want to talk about some success stories. Maybe one place where it got awfully difficult, hard to work with, and then yeah, we're there. That's good. Okay. We'll be back in just a few minutes with Leah and Carrie.
In life, we are not alone. We live with and among people. We constantly enter into contact and relationship with others. Some of these relationships are very formal and superficial, but some are very deep and intimate. How do relationships work? We can all easily relate with those relationships that have been wounded, which are sometimes even bleeding. Father Martin Padovani, SVD, has written a book called Healing Wounded Relationships. It is the result of his many years of work as a marriage counselor. He deals with some of the very simple but pertinent topics like communications, listening, intimacy, forgiveness, reconciliation, and dealing with anxiety and fear. And of course, a very practical question: how do you make a marriage work? You will surely be enriched by this book. You should get it for yourself, or maybe get a copy for a relative or a friend. Be blessed by this book and improve your relationships.
Call the number on the screen or email us to get your copy. You can also place your order by visiting our website. Do it today.
Thanks for coming back to see us. We're with Leah Andrews and Carrie Matthews from Heart Matters Foster Family Agency. That's a mouthful. We were talking earlier about the ages of the scope, and I understand that once you're 21, that sort of is the end of the scope of the work that you do. This aged out thing, when you find somebody that has aged out but still needs help, can you help with something like that?
Yes, our agency actually does. What we try and do is prepare them for their exit out of the system by providing as many resources and independent living skills that they may need to be out on their own. We prepare them for their departure. We will help them apply for transitional housing, which is available for them after the age of 21. And we collaborate with that agency to make sure that they have all of the supplies and resources that they need. For instance, like a vehicle, pots and pans, bedding, furniture for their new apartments. So we assist even after they transition out of care.
And what about the job opportunities? Do you have resources for them to look for work so they can self-sustain?
We do. We link them to a lot of different resources within the community, and like I said, prep them on how to properly fill out resumes, how to interview, how to dress for an interview. So we do assist with job placement.
Leah, once a person has aged out, does that end the relationship with the county or the state or other agencies generally?
So it depends on the person. They do have the choice to stop communication and stop the services, but there are several of our youth who do continue that. As Carrie said, they go into transitional housing. So that's a totally different service that begins where they help them maintain and continue to develop their independence so they can continue with their services. There are also services that follow them as far as once they want to enroll in college. There's different things through the state where they can go to college and have their priority enrollment and have different fees waived and things like that.
Do you find out that sometimes a client, do you call them clients? What do you call them? A person that's been in foster care and you're working, what do you call them?
Our kids.
Our kids.
Our kids. Oh, how nice. That's great. I'd like to be one of your kids, I'll tell you right now. You find that some kid comes back and says, "You've helped me, can I help you?"
Yes, definitely. We actually have that all the time. We have them sometimes volunteer to speak to other children, and then we also have them go into social work themselves so that they can make a difference in the lives of children in foster care just like someone did with them. And so sometimes they'll come back and they'll want to intern with us or try to look for employment, and we give them those resources and that experience because they've been through the system and they know both how to navigate it but then also how to overcome the challenges that come with it.
Carrie, do you find that there's somebody in particular that you remember that was in a tough spot coming to the agency and going through it and then moving on and now is a shining example of what can happen?
Believe it or not, I have a young man named John, and he came into the system when he was 14. He was placed in a really loving home that took him in as part of their family immediately. He struggled in school, he struggled socially, and he even said on several occasions that he wanted to leave the home. However, he had nowhere else to go. Last week, John applied and was approved for transitional housing. He turns 21 next month. He is actively attending community college, getting A's and B's. He is looking for employment. He is looking forward into moving moving into his own apartment, and he has his own vehicle. So he is one of our very big success stories right now. We are so proud of him, and we're very proud of the foster family that has helped him and guided him along all of these years.
Wow, that's great. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You found that some of the kids get off and do very well. What happens when that separation comes between the foster parent, foster family, and the kid? How do they have to manage that separation by themselves? You find that some people say, did that, done that, and do they always keep up with what the kid is doing? Or sometimes you find there's some anxiety because, yeah, but as soon as I left there, like, they didn't want anything to do with me anymore.
You know, Jack, there are different scenarios on when children are separated, and some are returned home to their biological relatives. And I actually just had a family who I interacted with this morning, and they had a sibling set of 3 children that they've had for over a year now, and they were very young age. So we're talking about 15 months. The other one was 3, the other one was 5. And so they've had them for quite a while, and they were reunified with their biological mother this past Saturday. Excuse me. And when they came to the meeting this morning, they were sad. And so what we try and do is we try and give them as much support as possible. But what we do find with our families, some are allowed to continue to carry on a relationship with these children if they become bonded and maintain a relationship with the biological relatives. Some are allowed to do that, and some are completely cut off. However, I do find that with most of my foster families, they'll call us and say, we started fostering to help as many as we can. Please fill our home up again as soon as possible.
Oh, wow.
We have so much love to give. And so that's what we do. We find them more children that are in need of their love and their care.
Can I elaborate on that?
Oh, please do.
Actually, one of the other things that we do on the other side of that to help the children transition is that we encourage our families to create them life books. Many times children come through foster care and they miss a gap in memories. They may start walking while they're in foster care. They may get their first report card. They may lose their first tooth. And so our resource parents take photographs and they take videos and they write stories about this. And then we did a training where we taught them how to categorize those things and journal them and put them together. And as gifts, they hand that book to that child. So those years in foster care, those months or whatever duration of time, they take that with them so that when they're adults and they look back and someone asks, well, when did you lose your first tooth? They can go back. Even if they don't remember, they can go back because our parents provide that to them. And we encourage our parents, send me pictures. I'll get pictures of kids on the weekends because those kids are out at Knott's Berry Farm, and our parents take our kids on cruises and they go to Disneyland and all of these great things. And we want those documented so that even though that trauma exists where foster care may not have been the best experience, the experiences that matter will be documented and they can share those and have those memories for themselves and their families later.
What if you've got a family that's taking in a child or 2, and they are moderate means, and they can't take them on a cruise or take them to Disneyland? Am I right that the state provides subsidies sometimes for foster parents?
Actually, with the funds that we're given by the state, we do have allocatable funds to provide. And so our agency is big on giving back to our families and our children. And you're right, some of the families cannot afford activities such as that. And that's where I kick in. And we pay. We pay a lot for our children. I pay for all extracurricular activities. I pay for weekend and spring break trips to amusement parks. We pay for specific events that they want to attend, like camps, or if they want to take karate or guitar lessons. Anything that they find an interest in that is supportive of their mental, physical, and emotional health, our agency is there to help financially with whatever they need.
I'm the oldest of 5 children. Boy, well, I could have used you back then, I'll tell you right now. How many graduation ceremonies have you gone to?
Several. And this is prom season as well. And so we help both young ladies and young men with their tuxes and dresses and the accessories that they need and the dance tickets and whatever we can do to make their life as normal as possible while in placement, we will do that. It's just that important to us that they're happy and healthy.
Yes.
My prom date still has the corsage pressed in a book.
Really?
And I went to a reunion, and it meant a lot to her. But when I saw it, I couldn't believe it. They get such a warm feeling that somebody cares enough.
Yes.
And of course, caring is the core of what you do.
Yes, sir.
Do you ever find out that you have a tough time figuring out, well, I kind of like this kid. He's trouble, but no, she's nice. Do you get pets, favorite teacher's pet? Can you say that and not offend anybody?
Actually, all of our kids. There isn't one that we cannot say is our favorite. Each and every one comes with a different past, a different trauma, a different story.
God bless you both for what you've been doing, and all the people that have been doing that wherever they are. I want to ask God, will you just join us here? I want to ask God to bless these beautiful women, to bless those people they work with, to bless the children that they service, and ask that, wow, where would they be without us? You got to have heart. Do you have heart? Do you have enough heart to be a foster parent? You should take on the challenge? If you ever thought about it, why don't you get in touch with Family Matters if you're in this area, or another agency that does the same kind of work? I know that I certainly, as a family of 5 kids and middle-class parents, I would have liked to have heart. Thanks for being with us. Join us again next time. God bless you.
In life, we are not alone. We live with and among people. We constantly enter into contact and relationship with others. Some of these relationships are very formal and superficial, but some are very deep and intimate. How do relationships work? We can all easily relate with those relationships that have been wounded, which are sometimes even bleeding. Father Martin Padovani, SVD, has written a book called Healing Wounded Relationships. It is the result of his many years of work as a marriage counselor. He deals with some of the very simple but pertinent topics like communications, listening, intimacy, forgiveness, reconciliation, and dealing with anxiety and fear. And of course, a very practical question: how do you make a marriage work? You will surely be enriched by this book. You should get it for yourself, or maybe get a copy for a relative or a friend. Be blessed by this book and improve your relationships.
Call the number on the screen or email us to get your copy. You can also place your order by visiting our website. Do it today.